Welcome to the Diamond Niner Gals podcast for week 4 of the 2020 season. This is Nick, joined as always by Kevin.
What's up, Niner Nation?
Producer Brad, making all this stuff work.
Hey.
And making her Diamond Niner Gals podcast debut, associate head coach Katie Browder. What's up, Coach Katie?
How's everybody doing?
Man, we are great. We are great. We were just talking now before we got on here, and the boys are all excited about this. We're always talking about pitching on this show. I guess that's what we get for spending time with a pitching coach. But now we've got an offensive mind on here, so you're ready to school us on hitting the softball. Yes, Coach?
Oh, absolutely. That's my favorite part of the game.
All right. So we're going to get into the on-field stuff. For sure. Big week for it. Well, it was a big week for the gals on the Diamond, and another big weekend coming up at the Sioux. We're going to talk all about that. But Coach, since this is the first time that we've had you on, we wanted to get to know you a little better and give folks out there a chance to get to know a little more about you. You've been here since, I believe, July, which is when you were hired. But we have definitely not had a chance to sort of do this deep dive with you about your background and your experiences. So why don't we start with just letting you start to talk a little bit about sort of your life in softball as we get to know you.
Absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me on here. I've been a fan for a long time, listened to you guys a little bit last year, following Ashley and Jody and everybody. And first time being on, I'm excited to just share some background with you guys and just give you a little bit of deep dive of who I am, but who we are as an offense and a little bit different side of the game as Charlotte softball. So first off, I'm originally from Effingham County, just outside of Savannah, Georgia. I grew up around sports my whole life. My dad was a longtime football coach. He actually assisted with a lot of softball as well growing up. So knew nothing but sports growing up, played soccer, softball, basketball. Quickly, the other two weeded themselves out, and I realized that softball was exactly what I wanted to do. So played my whole life growing up for my dad, and then had the opportunity to go to the University of Georgia out of high school. I actually grew up a Gamecock fan because my dad played football there, and that was kind of where I wanted to go right out of high school, but had the opportunity to go to Georgia, who was just coming off of a 2009 Women's College World Series appearance, their first one ever, and chose to go to Georgia. Was a part of a great team while I was there. I went to the 2010 Women's College World Series. We were number one team in the nation in 2011, came up just short of being able to go back to another World Series. Played there for a couple years. I was a middle infielder, right-handed hitter, and then transferred to the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, which actually is where my dad was the athletic director and the head softball coach. They were just starting a new program, and that season, which was 2012, just starting a new program. So I chose to go be a part of the inaugural team, and we had 2 great years there. Loved playing at USCB, loved playing for my dad, being back in the low country, a lot closer to where I was from. Had a lot of success while we were there. And then I finished up my playing career at Reinhardt University in Atlanta. Went to the NAIA World Series, finished third that year. I think it was 2014. And, from the very first moment of being involved on the coaching side, I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. And following my dad's footsteps, be a coach, impact as many athletes, as many people as I could along the way. It was my passion. So got right into it. As soon as I graduated, got my degree in hospitality and tourism, which was a great degree in the state of South Carolina, but not exactly what I wanted to do professionally. Started my master's program in kinesiology, which was exactly what I wanted to do, understand more of how the body moved, why it moves certain ways, how we could transfer energy more efficiently, which is exactly what we talk about on the hitting side. And started coaching at Savannah State University in the MEAC in 2015. Coached there for one season and then had the opportunity to go be the volunteer assistant coach under Mike Smith at Ole Miss in the fall of 2015, spring of 2016. And I was there for 3 seasons as a volunteer assistant coach, assisted Ruben Felix with the offense, and then whatever, the head coach asks you to do when you're kind of wearing a bunch of different hats at that time. Went to regionals all 3 years while we were there. Went to an awesome super regional against UCLA back in 2017. And then met Ashley, and she came and joined us in 2018, which is where we kind of started our friendship back then. And then after the 2018 season, it was time for me to take my first full-time offense coach job. I went to the University of Minnesota. I worked for head coach Jamie Traxel. That's where we met. And assistant coach Piper Ritter, who is now the head coach at Minnesota, was there with them in 2019 and 2020 season. Went to the World Series in 2019, which was an amazing experience. And then figured out it was time to come on back south where I belong. I had the opportunity to follow Jamie back to Ole Miss. And you kind of always – you're never sure exactly what your path is going to entail, but Oxford was a place that I knew that I loved, and it was cool that I had an opportunity to go back there for 3 additional seasons and coach there alongside Jamie. And then, this past summer when the opportunity came about to work alongside 2 of my very best friends, Ashley and Jody, Ashley called me and was like, I want to interview you. I'm like, oh, this is serious. Let's get after it. And came to Charlotte. Talked to some of the players through Zoom, and the players really, the mentality that they had is exactly what I was, looking for. Was so awesome hearing from them what they wanted out of their career, what I could do and kind of plug and play and come in and be with them. It was exactly what I wanted to do. And now we're here in Charlotte and couldn't be more excited.
So let's start to unpack a few things you said there, Coach. And now I'll go ahead and self-identify as someone that played for their dad at one point. Certainly not at the collegiate level, but I did play for my dad in a couple different sports. Kevin, did you ever play for your dad?
I did. I did a few times. Well, I think basketball, but never baseball, I don't believe.
My dad was my head coach in baseball one year in rec league. And that was, there's either two kinds of experiences with that, right? It's either like, really good or really, I don't know. My experience, Katie, and I'll let you talk about how it was playing for your dad, but my experience was my dad was so afraid somebody was going to accuse him of favoritism towards me that I think I actually got put in worse spots. I had friends that their dad coached the team and they were like, the point guard or the starting pitcher. My dad was the head coach, and I played, like right field. Part of that, Katie, was honestly his honest evaluation of my skill level. Okay, that's true too. But I definitely had friends that weren't that good either, but their dad was the coach, so they still played those positions. Anyway, so how was your experience playing for your dad? It must have not been that bad because you did it multiple times, right?
Right. Yeah. To be honest, it was all I knew. It didn't matter what sport I played growing up, softball, soccer, and basketball. He coached me in all 3 sports. I didn't have another coach until I went to middle school and played for the middle school coach. So in every sport up until I got middle school, my dad was our coach. So he was all I knew. And I love playing for him. I think he's who sparked me into being or wanting to be a coach. He's a nice guy. He's really nice. He's not the angry dad coach that you may see here and there. He's really nice. And sometimes I'm like, Dad, you got to get on to people. You got to let them know. And to be honest, I've learned a little bit more of my demeanor as I've gotten older from him, and learning that not everything's the end of the world. Not every loss is, the worst loss in the world. His demeanor, his calmness, his ability to remain neutral, in the hardest of times is really what I admired a lot about him. And he doesn't get super, super fired up. He lets you know that you you're a human and you're going to mess up, and he loves you. Like he made sure you knew that. So I loved playing for him, and the opportunity to play for him collegiately was really cool and special. And, I think he's who I talk to the most now to this day. And he makes sure I know that I need to stay level-headed as much as possible.
Kevin, did Earl jump on you basketball practice?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it from the other perspective. I'm coaching my son now, both my sons, and
it's true.
I can definitely see the angry coach side of me, and then the nice. I'm working toward being the nice coach, the nice dad coach. But it is challenging. It is challenging as a parent and coach. You get it. You're wearing two hats at the same time, and you're trying to be good at both. But it's really special that you can play for your father in college. Not a lot of folks get to do that, so that is really special.
Yeah, it was really cool. I think the angry coach got to be the football coach. So he coached. He stayed on when he finished up playing at South Carolina. He stayed on as a GA, and then coached high school football at Groves High School in Savannah, and then semi-pro football for the Savannah Chiefs. And I think all the boys got the angry side, and then the girls, he was a little on the softer side too. So we'll kind of let that be the tale.
Yeah, that's good.
I helped with Maddie's my daughter Maddie. I don't think she would give me a good review as a coach. Kevin knows. Not that I taught her anything, but there was one time she definitely did not enjoy her dad coaching the team because she struck out and she was crying on her way back to the dugout, and one of the other coaches was kind of trying to pat her on the back a little bit, and I was like, no, there's no crying in softball. You're not going to stand here on the field and cry. And yeah, she would. I don't think she'd give me a good review, but anyway, it sounds like your dad did a great job.
So. I think you did, but you know what? You've got time. You got plenty of time.
Megan, you and Katie have coached the same player. It turns out, right?
Well, yeah, that's technically true because I was first base coach for a player named Kaylin Garlick that her and Maddie played together when they were really, really young. And I am proud to say that, first of all, her dad, Richard, was the coach of that team, and he's a really good coach. And I am proud to say that I apparently did not do anything to damage her softball career.
I love that.
She seems to be doing okay. She's a D1 softball player, and I had nothing to do with it, so that's awesome.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Katie, you said so you had the experience of going to College World Series as a player and a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that experience from both of those perspectives, as a player and as an assistant coach on the big stage.
Yeah. To be honest, it's something I talk about a lot with the players, and it's a piece of motivation for me too, to be able to experience walking on that field as a player and then walking on it again 9 years later or 8 years later as a coach. It's something you want every player that you have an opportunity to coach to experience. There's nothing like walking into a stadium where there's now, with the expansion, 12, 14,000 people at a game. And you can't hear, all you can hear is your heart beating in your throat. That's the only thing that you can hear. There's no over coaching in that type of atmosphere, because all you can hear is how hard your heart's beating. But you really want everybody to have that experience, because it's what every little girl dreams of. It's what every guy in college baseball dreams of walking out on that field in Omaha. So I tried really hard to soak up every single moment of being there. I have a lot more memories of going there as a coach than I did as a player. And you're really busy. You have practice times and interviews and photo shoots, and there's so much going on. It's like, oh yeah, we have a game today, like on the biggest stage ever. And, we try to soak it up as much as possible, have a lot of conversations, take a lot of pictures and stuff. And being there was a dream come true. And, now you have a taste of it, and the goal is to get back there every year.
So on last week's baseball show, we had the opportunity to talk to Michael O, pitching coach for the baseball team. And we were talking about all the guys we had make D1 debuts that opening week, and we were talking to Coach O about his D1 debut. And he mentioned that like the first time he got put in a D1 game, like he couldn't feel his legs. Like I couldn't even feel my legs. So how do you compare those moments? Like, your D1 debut versus like what level does it ramp up to when you're in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, well, I'll tell my little story of my D1 debut. I fouled a ball straight into my ankle and ran to first. Like, that's how much I wasn't thinking. I fouled the ball straight into my ankle. It hit off my ankle and rolled to the third baseman. And I still ran to first base. And I get back to the dugout, and Coach Harris at the time, she said, did that ball not hit you? And I said, yeah, it did. I pulled my sock down, and there's the stitches on my ankle. And she said, why did you run to first? I said, I have no idea. I don't know. I couldn't breathe. So that was my D1 debut. It
would have probably been good if you couldn't feel your legs.
Yeah, there's a similar feeling there. So now I have a little bit more care for the players when they make their first debut. My first piece of advice to them is breathe. Every time they look back to me from the batter's box, I'm like, just breathe. Yeah, you got to just breathe. Just make sure you actually still have oxygen flowing at the time. So that was my little tidbit there of my debut. But the comparison is that it's just on a whole nother level. The magnitude is so much higher. Obviously, the pressure is there, but now coaching backwards from being in those moments, it's how can we prepare our athletes for that experience? And a similar feeling could be in a conference championship, a regional championship, a super regional championship. There's a lot of similar emotions that they can have in those scenarios. And for us, we focus on our breathing technique. We teach our kids how to breathe. They each breathe a little bit differently. How can they actually slow down their heart rate in those moments to be able to perform? How can we take all of the things that are going through their brain and get rid of them and have them focus on something really small in that moment so they can be successful. So working backwards from those moments that I experienced personally, I throw into the coaching now of trying to prepare months and even year in advance of being ready for those moments.
Yeah, Coach, looking at your resume, there's one spot that's quite not like the rest of the spots that you've coached or played. Minnesota. Talk about going up there and coaching up in the state of Minnesota in softball.
Yeah, so Minnesota, there's one word: cold. Cold. It was a crazy experience. The softball side was amazing. Players were great. Going to the World Series was amazing. Worked with a lot of great people while I was there. But I don't think anybody prepared me for what I was actually going to face. And I have a quick little story. So I was at home in Minnesota by myself. I think CJ was off work doing something for work at the time. And I heard on the news we were supposed to get our first snowstorm, which was probably in like September, early October, first snowstorm. They're like, yeah, 8 to 10 inches, like make sure you're prepared. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means. So I'm going to go up the street to Menards, which I'd never been there before, but it's a nicer Home Depot. That's how I like to describe it. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy us a shovel. And that's what everybody else on the street has is shovels. So I'm going to buy one. And I'm going down the aisle and I don't have anybody to ask. I'm all alone. And I see the different types of shovels. There's got to be 20 different types of shovels, which I'd never seen before. And there was only one left of, I guess, a traditional like aluminum or metal, like angled shovel, like a normal shovel that you would see. And I said, well, there's only one left. That means that's got to be a popular shovel, right? So I'm going to buy that shovel. So it's the only shovel I bought. I threw it in what I call a buggy, which in Minnesota, I quickly realized that no one knew what I was talking about when I said, would you like my buggy? They're like, you mean shopping cart? So I learned that one quickly. And I had the shovel. So I go home. The snowstorm comes. CJ comes back in town. And she's like, okay, I'm going to start shoveling. So she starts shoveling. And quickly our neighbor comes out and he says, girls, he's an older gentleman. He says, girls, you're going to need a different shovel. That's not the right kind of shovel. And he quickly comes over with a push shovel that he shoveled our driveway in 15 minutes. That would have taken us 2 hours. So that was my first experience with a snowstorm. And about 10 days later, I bought a snowblower and ditched the shovel.
You know, I think the other one is like, talking about like the buggy versus the shopping cart. If you tell them that you're looking for a toboggan to put on your head, they also look at you like you're crazy because that's what they go sled on. Yeah,
100%. I quickly learned that there was a lot of differences between being in Savannah, Georgia and Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I have a friend that lives in Michigan, and I told her, I said, I look at the LL Bean catalog, but you can actually order the clothes in the LL Bean catalog, you know, flannel line jeans and all that stuff. That, you know, I get that catalog. I just look at it. It's like, man, I can't.
It's funny how you adapt though. You know, there was a moment in time where it was 10 degrees out and I was like, it's warm. And I never thought that I would say that ever in my life, the fact that 10 degrees was warm. And there were moments where I said that, as well as in that 2019 season, Georgia came up to our regional. And the Big Ten weather rule is that you can't start the game with the temperature below 28 degrees. And it was 28 degrees in the third weekend in May. And I was on the side with our girls going, yes, Georgia doesn't know how to handle this. They're going to crumble. We got this. We're so good in 25-degree weather. And yeah, we were right. Georgia was cold and they were going to the store and buying sleeves and all kinds of stuff. And we beat them. So it paid off in our favor sometimes.
Have you ever had this conversation with Ashley? Because she is notorious for, I think at some point they'll, you know, like when she goes into whatever Hall of Fame she goes into, it'll be her puffer jacket that they retire.
Absolutely. I'm the same way, to be honest. We're just alike when it comes to that. I think the other night I actually had my parka on before she did. We're the same. That doesn't mean our experiences, her at Michigan State and me at Minnesota, we didn't bring that tough skin back down with us. We're still cold. So we've had that conversation a couple times.
Now, Kevin, I don't want to belabor the point, but I can't let it pass that I think that what Katie has been explaining to us, that it gets cold like Minnesota, which if you know, you know. I just had to point that out. So, you know, let's fast forward. You got back down south. You got back down to Oxford. And I know we're going to talk about, you know, you've alluded to your prior relationships with Ashley and Jody. But I think that what most people, and I think this is what the sort of the obvious question for fans, for, you know, in the observers of the program, at a school like Charlotte, which we love dearly, we don't see a lot of folks resigning from SEC programs to come to Charlotte. So, you know, one, we were jacked up that we were taking an assistant off an SEC program, but talk a little bit about that decision process, because walking away from a position like that to come to Charlotte, while the relationships might have made it easier, there still had to be some more to it than that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. You know, Oxford was a place that I love. I still do. I love the town. I love the college atmosphere that they have there. It's a really cool and special place. And I built so many memories there, and it was a hard place to leave. You know, I thought, honestly, I would be there for a lot longer through my career. And, you know, things just weren't aligning. You know, CJ and I are, you know, we're moving on. We're forward in our life, and we're looking for something a little different. And, you know, it had to be exactly perfect of what the opportunity was to come about. And, when Ashley first called me and I took the interview, and we talked a lot about the logistics of the job and kind of what it would entail. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go. I owe this to myself to go and explore Charlotte. I've been watching from the outside for a while now, and I want to go see what it's like. And I got here, met everyone on campus, and I'll tell you the thing that sold me, I mentioned it prior, was having the Zoom with the players and hearing them talk about their vision. And they were serious that, no, we can go to the World Series. We can go to the Women's College World Series. We truly believe that. We're going to win our conference, and we're going into the American. We've been to a regional. Now we know what it's like. We expect to win it. We expect to go to a super, and we truly believe we can go to the Women's College World Series. And they meant it. And that was a piece that I was like, okay, let's do this. That was probably one of my questions of like, are they ready for that next level? Is that what they want? Is that where we're going to align? And the words that they were saying, I was like, this is it. Like this, I can get behind this. And, I met with a lot of different people, and I looked at CJ on the flight home. I said, it's never felt more right personally and professionally. Like this is where God wanted me to be and us to be, and to move a little closer to home. My family is 2.5 hours away, 3 hours away. And my sister's down in Columbia, an hour and 15 minutes away, and work alongside two people that, love CJ and I to death. And, this is where we feel like we need to be. And to be honest, we've never looked back for a day.
Yeah. Coach, we're definitely glad to have you. Glad you made that decision over the summer. Talk about your first impressions of campus when you were, I don't know, the first time you came to campus, if it was after your decision or before. Talk about your first time you saw campus.
Yeah. So to be honest, it's beautiful. When I first got here, I wasn't sure what to expect, which is what I think my experience coming into it was what some first-time recruits experience too. They hear Charlotte, they're not sure if it's in the city, outside the city, kind of what that entails. So when I got here and realized, it's not in the middle of the city, it's a little bit on the outskirts. The buildings are new and beautiful, everything, all the brick being the same color, the greenery, the respect for the details to keep the trees and the shrubs and everything nice and clean. To be honest, it reminded me a little bit of Oxford and the campus that they have there with the buildings and stuff. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. The access in and out of the city, so many opportunities inside the city as well. But I thought the campus was absolutely beautiful from the second I stepped on it.
As you were making your decision process, though, Coach, it had to hit you at some point that you had spent time watching this show last year from Oxford, and it probably, at what point did it sink in? Oh my gosh, I bet one day I'll get to go on that show. I mean, that had to hit you at some point, right?
Oh, it did. And Ashley let me know right away too. She said, I can't wait to get you on the podcast. Like, she's excited and couldn't wait. She said, the guys are going to love having you on the podcast. I said, I'll be on it. I've listened to it a couple times. So I will say that was a key point, and it was a thought in my head as the decision was being made.
She's good at this, Kevin. She's really good at this.
We are honored. We are honored to be a very small part that you say was part of your decision. But Ashley said the same thing. She said she couldn't wait for us to have you on the show, and you were going to do great. So, and you've lived up to it. It's she put some pretty high expectations, and definitely living up to it right now.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. It's definitely hard to follow in Ashley's footsteps. She's my best friend, but also somebody I admire. I think she has such a way with words and leadership, and she can grasp all the attention of anybody that she talks to. And it's, to be honest, one of the biggest things that I admire about her is just the way she communicates, and her leadership skills are something that I admire and listen to every time she has a chance to talk or address the team or a group of people. Her leadership skills are outstanding.
So let's turn the corner here, Coach. Let's put something in your wheelhouse here. This is you're a hitting guru. So let's talk about your philosophy at the plate and what you like to teach and what draws you, what your philosophy is as far as working with hitters, and just let you I don't know if this is the right term here, but let's let you geek out a little bit talking about hitting.
Yeah. Hitting has been my passion since I've been in the game. You know, it's the part that I love the most. It's most intriguing. It's exciting. The ability to change the entire game with one swing of the bat is something that, you know, I love to explore. And how can we do that? And I will say that my philosophy as a whole has changed over the last 10 years of coaching, and it's evolved with more science that has come out. You know, I've had different people along the way that have been major mentors and made huge impacts in what I believe in and what I teach. And I learned so much from my coaches at Georgia. The head coach there now was actually the volunteer assistant when I played, Tony Baldwin. I learned a ton from him. Jerry Glasgow, who's at ULL now as the head coach, he was my hitting coach. Lou Harris, who is amazing. She taught me so much, and I've taken a lot from everyone that's impacted me along the way and figured out, like, what are we all trying to do as an offense? What are we trying to do? We're trying to score runs, trying to score more runs than the other team. So how can we do that? What is the identity of the team that I have that season? Are we fast? Do we have power? Who are we as a team? And then how can I take our strengths and put them together to help us score more runs than our opponent? And most recently, which I know you guys have heard a little bit about, the motor preference piece, and I know we'll dive into it, is what has really shaped our offense and what we're about. And boiling it down to is the truth of one is not the truth of all. And we don't have one style for every single hitter on our team. You come watch us play. We all start differently. We swing differently. We stand differently. We're thinking different things. You're not going to be able to say, oh, that's the style of Charlotte softball, because the style is who they are themselves. And we eliminate any of that, because if I did have one style, it could impact 50% of the players that we are on our team, but the other 50%, it wouldn't work for at all. So the goal is, we have a couple pillars. You know, we're really big on swing decisions, and the balls that we're choosing to put in play are the right pitches that we're trying to swing at, that play to our swing and who we are. So our swing decisions, our ability to swing at strikes and take balls. Motor preference is our big pillar for us, is staying in preference. And then the third one is quality contact, making sure that when we're striking the ball, that it's with good quality contact. We're putting tough balls in play. And then the fourth one for us is competitive plate appearances, which we call CPAs. If you hear the girls chanting something about CPAs, it's just having a competitive plate appearance. You know, are you, swinging at strikes? Are you putting good balls in play? Are you just competing at the plate and showing that when you're stepping in the batter's box, you've got full belief in yourself to get the job done? So that kind of sums up who we are as an offense and what we believe in. And, you know, we're really into making sure that each player moves as naturally as possible.
Yeah, Coach, a lot of coaches will have their style, their set style, and try to fit everybody in that same box. Refreshing to hear that you're very adaptive, and you take what you have and you maximize the talents that you have on your squad. And that's a little different than some coaches out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We just want to optimize, you know, what they bring to the table. Everybody's different. Everybody moves different. And it's my job and our job to figure out how can we optimize their skill set. And it's our job to adapt to that.
So you alluded to it, and I'm going to get the terminology wrong, but the motor skills aspect of it.
Motor preference.
Motor preference. There we go. Thank you. The motor preference aspect. This is more of a recent, it seems like this is more of a recent adaptation of yours. How long have you been on this? And how did you first get introduced to it as a concept?
Yeah. So motor preference, it came about from Europe, and it's not new in Europe. You know, it's new to the United States. There's been 20 plus years of studies done in Europe by the Volodalin lab. And it's just new to the United States in the sports of softball and baseball, but it's been really big in cricket, running, sports of that nature. And last December, I was first introduced to it by a mentor of mine, and, you know, he dropped some terms, and I said, what are you talking about? And he sent me an article, and I started to read it. And last December, when it's supposed to be the off season for coaches and resting, I don't think I slept at all, because all I did was read about motor preference and listen to a couple podcasts that were available at the time. And it came about the head baseball coach at Maryland, Matt Swope. He and his partner, David Genest, they put together the motor preference experts, and they started putting some information out there about what it was, what does it do, and here's some information about what you can learn about it. And, we reached out as soon as we could to learn as much information. And this year, I studied it all last year, tried to implement a little bit of it when I was at Ole Miss last season, but wasn't certified yet. So I had very surface level information, plugging and playing a couple different things. But this summer, the motor preference experts had said they were going to work with a few college programs, 3 or 4 at max. And, I had already locked down that we were going to work with them when I was at Ole Miss. And then when I came to Charlotte, the first thing I did was call them and Ashley and said, this is something that I'm really into right now. I want to make sure that you guys are, one, on board to come to Charlotte and work with us. And then that Ashley, Jody, and the rest of the staff are really interested in bringing that on board too. And of course, Ashley was like, absolutely, let's get into it. So as soon as we got here in August, Nick Robinson, who handles the player development piece of it, and David came to Charlotte, worked with us for 2 days. We are one of 4 certified programs in college softball that are now motor preference level 1 certification. So everything that dives into, I can have you guys do a little exercise, but if you want to just cross your arms, just crossing your arms naturally.
Oh, yeah, I got that. I'm doing well.
I did right over left. What do you guys do?
Right over left.
I did left over right.
Okay, so mine and Nick's motor preference, without thinking, was right over left. And Kevin, you were left over right. Now try to do it the other way, the opposite of what you did naturally.
Oh, yeah. That
you had to think about it.
That's not even comfortable.
It's not comfortable. But if you trained yourself and you did it 1,000 times over and over again, you probably could somewhat make it a little more comfortable. But that's just one example of what a human's motor preference is. So think about that. Now switch gears to hitting. Now, if I taught each of you a style of hitting, and because Nick, you and I are a little more alike in the right over left, maybe my style would work with you. But Kevin, you would have to think at the plate to do what I'm asking you to do if I tried to make you go right over left, which thinking slows down your ability to react and move. So that is a sum and sum what really motor preference is figuring out what is natural. Now, you'll hear a lot of coaches say, we want our players to move naturally and we want them to move the way their body wants to move, but who knows what natural is? How do you measure natural? How do you know what natural is? And it's not a taught skill that they learned from a prior coach that they were in a different organization with. You don't know where that came from. So what motor preference does is we're able to test each of our players and build out a profile, and we keep our players aligned in that profile, and they say they are in preference and they're moving. And it all comes from what is the intent of what you're trying to do. As a hitter, my intent is to move in balance, because when I'm balanced, I can see. And when I can see, I have perception. I can move to hit. If I have no balance, I can't see, which if I can't see, I probably can't hit. So when explaining it to our athletes and our players of where this comes from and what it's about, that's one little way that we explain it to them. So we tested them, and the end goal is to eliminate swing doubt. We don't want them to think in the batter's box. We want them to move naturally, and it allows them to have mental freedom in the batter's box that I'm just moving. My intent is to move. My intent is to move and balance and swing good pitches. And it really eliminates a lot of the thinking piece in the batter's box.
Kevin, I'm just following this out to its somewhat logical conclusion. So based on what you're saying, Coach, in our scenario right here, if you were coaching us, and you're coaching us like, well, it's right over left. It's right over
Mm-hmm.
left. And I'm like, I'm just hitting the ball all over the place. Oh, nothing to it. It's right over left. And Kevin's like, I just can't get it. I can't get it. And so Kevin's walking away thinking, well, I'm not good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just not cut out to do this. Maybe I'm not a good player. And he is. Yeah. And the only advantage that I've had is I just happened to be wired to what you were saying. Mm-hmm. And the truth is I'm just basically I slotted in to what that's what Coach Katie said to do. Well, I don't see what the big deal is. Kevin's struggling over there, but Kevin's not a bad player. So how many people have been out there, and I guess still are out there, that are potentially better than they think they are?
Absolutely, everywhere.
That makes sense, right?
Everywhere. So it happens everywhere, every day. It's people go and choose to hit with a certain swing coach, and it doesn't matter, golf, anything. And it works for half the people that they work with, and it doesn't work with the other half. And, for us, that's what we're trying to eliminate. And when David came down, there was one quote that he said to us that stuck with us. And he said, the human body, every single person is made perfectly. They are made perfectly. There is no such thing as she's not good enough, or they're just not a good enough player. No, our job is to figure out how can we optimize what they're bringing to the table, and how can we get them in preference and in profile, keep them in profile to be able to perform. And that's what our job is. And there's a lot to it. It's everything from the way they breathe to the way they walk to the way they move, their hands further away from them, closer to them, their chin angled this way or that way, or up or down. Like, there's so many things that we need to align, and it's a ever growing thing. I'm learning about it every single day. And a third of the equation is the feedback that I get from the players. My job is to put them in the setup or the position that I believe is in their preference based off the test. And then their feedback lets me know, oh, that worked. Okay, that one feels a little odd, but that one feels really good. Let's stay there for a little bit. The feedback is what really helps me along the way.
Producer Brad is on the same wavelength with me here, because this is exactly along the lines I was thinking. He said, this is why I can't golf. Brad, I think that maybe what Coach Katie has convinced me of here is that perhaps I'm a better golfer than I think I am.
There's a chance.
Maybe I am. Probably not, but there's a chance. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
Absolutely. And the one thing about motor preference that we love too is having a player completely in preference can eliminate injury up to 70%. So not taxing the body in ways that it doesn't want to be taxed. So aerials like to be more in extension. They bound more. They use the muscle chain in the back of their body more. So they need like stronger calves and a back. Whereas the other profile that we call terrestrials, they like to be more in flexion. They have probably setups that are lower to the ground. They like to get under a squat rack. They like to bend. They're your athletes that like to bend, which most hitting coaches found along the way teach that type of style, staying in the ground, bending your legs, things like that. But we have players on our team that are very aerial, which means they like to be upright and they like to be in extension and they like to go fast and they're spinny, which a lot of those words don't align with a lot of philosophies hitting coaches would talk about. But now that we've put them in those positions, there's light bulbs been coming on. Like, okay, now I wish I would have hit like this my whole life, but you just see the light bulb come on and it looks so easy. Like the swing isn't hard.
So help us watch the game according to this terminology. So what I mean by that is you talked about aerials and terrestrials. With your lineup, give us an example of an aerial and give us an example of a terrestrial, and let's watch that next time out.
Okay, so The one thing is they're not specific buckets. So there can be variations of aerials and terrestrials because it's on a continuum. So you have like your very terrestrial, which would be an Ari Rhodey, very low in her setup. Even when she's on defense and on offense, when she runs, she's very in her heels. She likes to really be in flexion a lot. So you kind of see her in that lower setup with her weight in her heels because her balance is in her left and right heels where she finds her balance points the most. So you see her more on the terrestrial side, whereas the most aerial hitter we have on our team would be Christina Wellen, our transfer from Florida. When she runs, her heels never touch the ground. It's like a little baby deer running. It's just like bound, 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 bound. Her heels never touch the ground. She's always very upright in an extension. She feels the best in those types of positions. So when you look at Christina, she's more in an upright setup. And when you look at Ari Rhodey, she's very low to the ground and in flexion a lot. Those would be probably our two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right. Well, that's very interesting. I got several questions, but we could probably talk all night about this. But we do visually. I mean, the reason I brought this up initially with Ashley was visually on at the games or in the fall when I saw you guys scrimmaging, the catchers would have the blue stripe versus the red stripe, vertical, horizontal. Explain that a little. Just if you can give a brief explanation of kind of what's going on there.
Yeah. So the red and the blue have to do with their breathing chains and their muscle change. So players that are more breathe in, that extends the chest. They're more breathe in. They're on the blue side. And then players that are more breathe out, and you see them more inflection when they breathe out, that would be a red color. So the breathing chains has a connection to the blue and the red tape. And that's why you see that on the different hitters. So their eyes get excited by blue or red. So we do a good job of making sure that they have a focal point to look at whenever they're pitching. Our hitters also have tape on the just above the bat grip on the bat, a blue or red tape there. It's just a focus point for them. They make sure that they look at the tape right before they get in the batter's box to set up, that their eyes are really focused on what they're trying to do.
You know what this reminds me of, Kevin? This is like when Woody came in. Katie, you were talking about first person you were talking to about this started dropping lingo, and you're like, "What?" Mm-hmm. When Woody first got here, and we started talking to him and learning to see baseball the way he sees it, he was dropping all kinds of lingo, mm-hmm. and you're like, "What?" I mean, we had to go read books just so we could keep up with what he was talking about. I mean, seriously, Kevin, we had a reading list with a stack of books that we had to read so that we could just keep up with what he's talking about. I feel like that again. I feel like that's where I'm back at is like, wow, this is really interesting. And I feel like this is just like the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, it is. You're not even alone. I'm in the same boat with you. I've studied it for 1.5 years now, and now knowing how much deeper it goes, hearing things from David, how much deeper it goes, and we can't wait to get the second and third and even fourth level of certification. It goes as deep as what the players are eating and do their bodies like gluten, and the body is made up so perfectly. There's so much to know about it, and how much can we know so we can optimize them from a performance standpoint. There's so much more that goes behind it.
Wow. That's amazing. As much fun as we're having here, Kevin, I guess we need to talk about some on the field stuff because this could turn into a whole nother show just talking about this stuff. Mm-hmm.
We need some homework. Kate, I think you need to give us some homework to go.
I could do that.
And next time we'll have you on another time. We can do a deep dive or a deeper dive. Right.
Let's do it. I'll get you some reading material together in a podcast or two, and you guys will be ready to go.
it would not be the first time we've had to do that kind of catch up in order to understand what a coach was talking about. So we are willing disciples of whatever you want to pass along our way. I do want to give you a chance to talk about your weekend on the diamond. Speaking of terrestrial, it's kind of funny. Rhodey's terrestrial, but the softballs that she hit are not very terrestrial. They're quite aerial. So let's talk about the week with the Niner gals on the diamond. Started off with the midweek matchup with Clemson. Weather was pretty decent for that. Man, Clemson has a following. Yeah, they do, don't they? I think we could have had another set of stands out there, and that would have worked out. But kind of an interesting game with Clemson, coach. You guys fell behind, but I felt like the game ended with you guys sort of starting to assert yourselves and build some momentum. Final score 8-5, but I feel like you guys were starting to adjust to what they were doing.
Yeah, we were. Had 7 hits in the game. Ari Rhodey with 2 home runs in that game. Coming out the chute with the shot to coming from behind. They obviously scored first, and she came out the chute with the shot. And then, we couldn't kind of get anything going right there in the middle. They got ahead of us a little bit, but at the tail end of the game, her coming up with the 3-run homer there at the end gave us a lot of momentum. Didn't quite have another inning or so so we could come back and win the game for the final. But I thought that the momentum we had at the end of the game really propelled us into the weekend. Everybody started feeling really good about swinging the bat. Cagle had to come off the bench and come in and close the game out for him. So we felt good closing the game out. Obviously the expectation is always to win the game, and we expect to win every time we go out and play. But we were proud of the momentum that we finished the game with, and wish we had had another shot at them.
Well, you never know. It's a long season. That you could bump into each other somewhere down the road somehow. That momentum that you built, you took down to Columbia with you, and you really had. You had a good weekend. Maybe didn't the very last game against South Carolina didn't quite go the way you wanted to, but James Madison. Very solid softball program. You guys picked up 2 W's against them, and also picked up a W against South Alabama. So, sort of in the interest of time, maybe talk about your weekend in South Carolina as a whole.
Yeah, so we knew going down there was going to be a tough weekend. James Madison. Not a couple years out of a Women's College World Series appearance, and Alyssa Humphrey, their returning #1 pitcher, who was on that team behind Odyssey Alexander when they made their appearance a few years ago. And they're a really good team, well coached by Lauren Laporte. They're a great team. We really respect them. So going down there and getting 2 quality wins against them were really good wins that are good for us now, but are going to be great for us down the stretch too. I thought we came out in the 8-inning ball game that we started, Abby Knight with 2 hits, Hoffler with 2 hits, Chancey with the game-winning single to put us ahead there. Savannah Wynn coming through with 2 hits in that game was huge. And then Gigi and Sam only allowing 3 hits in the entire game, and that game 1 was really big for us. Gigi was huge all weekend. So secure that Friday night win was really big, and then rolled us into Saturday against a really good South Alabama team. Their pitcher is outstanding. Olivia Lackey, I think last year, I wrote it down to even make sure I noted, last year she won 21 games and had 215 strikeouts. And she's what we would call a pitcher that has real backspin. The ball's spinning up, and it makes us have to think a little bit, like staying above the ball and making sure that we're not just missing under, and we're trying to create some line drives there. So I thought the girls did a really good job coming away with a 2-1 win, 2 hits. Ari with the solo shot in the 4th that really gave us a lot of life. And then the 4th inning, we kind of caught some fire. And then Washington with a really hard hit ball to right field that ended up scoring Hoffler. So put us ahead so we can win that game 2-1. Another great outing and pairing together with Gigi and Sam. So great game there. Rolled us into the next one against James Madison again. Faced Alyssa Humphrey, their number one arm, and I thought we did a great job against her. Another really big fourth inning, and come away with 3 wins on Friday and Saturday was huge for us. And I thought propelled a lot of confidence into the team, and they felt really good.
Yeah. So you had 3 one-run games in a row. And, or, I'm sorry, 2 one-run games, and then the 4-1 final must have felt like a blowout probably. That was timely hitting, good pitching, great weekend for the Niner gals.
Yep. And I think there's a lot of people that are swinging it well right now. What we would say, and the girls would tell you, that there's a few of them that really feel in preference. Winnie, Rhodey, Knight, they're really in preference. Their swing feels pretty effortless. It feels easy. And that's a good feeling to have. So I'm happy for those guys swinging a hot bat, and we're really getting Hoffler, Chansey. Those guys really swinging the bat well again too, and getting Washington going. There's a lot of good things happening that we're excited about. A good week of preparation and a good week ahead.
I'm just kind of chuckling here, Kevin, because I've never thought about that as like a pause. Like, I am so in preference right now.
That's what? A good feeling for the Niner gals. That's their goal, is to feel in preference.
You're what? I'm in preference right now.
Yeah.
So I know that that I'm asking this of an offensive coach, but longtime observers of the program, going back to last year, what it looks like we're setting up right now is last year, obviously. Sam Gress she carried the load for a lot of innings last year, and the Sassy Pony proved capable of doing so. But right now, it looks like Sam is being Sam, Lena's doing her thing again, but now Gigi has joined that triumvirate, and it looks like if they can be that triple threat. Along with the other girls that can contribute. But if we got that triple threat up top, this pitching staff looks pretty solid right now.
Yeah, they do. You hit the nail on the head with that one. I think one of the big takeaways we talked about from the weekend was Gigi's performance, and just as we talk about on the hitting side being in preference, the pitchers are in preference too. Their starts on the mound are according to their profile, and the way they start, the way they move, the way they understand their body needs to be moving off the mound is a preference piece too. So Gigi's really in preference. She's super confident in what she's doing. She trusts her stuff. She's letting it work. She's developed more on each of her pitches, between Ashley and CJ working with her on the pitching side of it. They've just done a great job. And those 3 are doing a really good job. And all the others on the pitching staff too, Brooke, Katie, Taylor, everybody is doing a good job, like filling their role and contributing when their name is called.
Coach, yes, the team's played a tremendous competition so far. We got one more weekend of out of conference play, and I looked this morning. We're currently sitting with the 3rd toughest schedule in the country. Talk about playing that tough schedule and going through kind of a grind to get to conference play.
Absolutely. It's awesome. That's the fun in it. The girls love suiting up to play against quality opponents, and they truly believe every time they step on the field that they are expecting to win, and they're going to beat whoever's across the field from them. And that's what makes them so special. It wouldn't be fun beating up on people all day, every day. It's fun to play the people that are ranked in the country, and we know that we're right there with them and we can beat them on any given day. So the toughness of the schedule is going to help us down the stretch. It's going to propel us into our conference. We've got great opponents in conference, North Texas, Wichita State. They're great opponents too. So the tough schedule that we're facing now and the adversity that we're working through as a staff and as a program is only going to help us as we get down the stretch together.
And we got one more weekend of that. And speaking of tough opponents, Kentucky's coming in for the Invitational. And I think they're another ranked team that we're going to see. And then we've got Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
You should know a little bit about them, maybe.
I do.
And UNC Wilmington.
Did you have anything to do with that?
I didn't. No, they were already committed to coming down here. That Piper Ritter, the head coach, she actually really likes coming to Charlotte. She likes easy trips. So Charlotte, easy place to get in and out of, direct flights. So she actually really likes coming down here. But yeah, this weekend, Kentucky, number 15 team in the country. They got a great arm, Schoonover. I'm really familiar with them, played them in the SEC the last couple years. They're quick. They can run. They got a couple good arms, really well coached. So they'll be a great, tough opponent for us. And then Minnesota, there's a couple girls still on that team that I coached in that World Series run in 2019. But Piper Ritter, amazing coach, a great pitch caller, excited to square off across the field against them again and see what we can't do. In Wilmington, too. They have a great pitching staff. Head coach Ashley Wade's done a good job with them. So it's going to be another great weekend at the Sioux. Let's fill it with green and white, and see if we can't come away with a great weekend.
Yeah, and let's let me run through that schedule for everybody real quick. Starts off on Wednesday against UNC Greensboro at 4:00. So get out to the Sioux on Wednesday, and then that Queen City Classic is this weekend, kicking off on Friday. There are a ton of games, a few of which also feature the Niners. So March 1st, that's Friday, 6:00 against Kentucky. Is currently ranked 15th. You also see the Niners against Kentucky on Saturday at 3:00 at the Sioux. And then Sunday at 3:00 against UNC Wilmington, and Sunday at 5:30 against Minnesota. So, man, you've already got the number 3 strength of schedule in the country, and it looks like you're just going to add to it this weekend. It's going to be an exciting set of games this weekend, Coach.
Oh yeah, we're excited. We can't wait for it. Starting off, like you said, against UNCG on Wednesday, and then rolling into the weekend. That's what we want. Number 3, toughest schedule. That's going to only help us down the stretch. So we're ready for it.
Well, Coach, I think we could do this for another hour. I swear this has been these shows just fly by. I don't know where all the time goes. We're having so much fun, but we're going to have to leave it off there. But just let's go ahead and secure your commitment to come back another time, and we'll do this again. Does that sound like a good deal?
I'm in. I love it. I enjoyed it. I have fun. And I know there's a lot of more things we can unpack along the way. So you have my commitment. I'll be back.
All right.
A verbal agreement.
Yeah, verbal. Yeah, we didn't even talk about recruiting. So there's all kind of things we could get into, but it'll have to wait for another day. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. This has been the Diamond Niner Gals podcast. Check this out on YouTube, also Spotify. Diamond Niner Report can be found all over social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, never TikTok. Check us out. We love hearing from you guys. Appreciate all the feedback. If you're old-fashioned like us, don't DM us. Just say hello out at the ballpark. And so for Kevin, for producer Brad, and Coach Katie Browder, we'll see you at the Sioux.
See ya. Thank you, guys.